Odysseus and the Trojan Horse. Greek myth. For 10 years, the Greeks and the Trojans, who were from the city of Troy, had been at war with each other. The war began because a Trojan prince named Paris had stolen away Helen, wife of the Greek king Menelaus. Many times the Greeks had tried to get past the Trojan army and enter Troy. However, they failed with each try. Getting into Troy was especially difficult, because a mighty wall had been constructed around the city to protect it. To the Greeks, the truth of the situation had become quite evident. They would have to find a different way to achieve their goal. Odysseus was a brave warrior on the Greek side, but when the war began, he felt little zest for joining in. He believed that there was no point in fighting a bloody war over Helen, and he declined to help bring her back to Greece. To make sure the Greeks would leave him alone, he pretended that he had lost his mind. He sowed salt with the seeds he was planting in a field. People interpreted his actions as madness. The salt would ruin the land and keep plants from growing. When Menelaus discovered that Odysseus was pretending, he ordered Odysseus to go to Troy. It was Odysseus who at last came up with the plan to win the war. He submitted his scheme to Menelaus, who immediately approved it. In the next few months, the Greeks built a giant hollow wooden horse. The structure was not a crude representation. Instead, it approximated the shape of a real horse and was a stunning work of art. The Greeks placed the horse at the gate of the city of Troy, as if it were a goodbye gift, and then pretended to sail away. Inside the horse's belly, 30 soldiers waited quietly. Meanwhile, the Greek ships hid behind a nearby island. At first, the Trojans did not know how to interpret this gift. Why would the Greeks leave such a precious object? The horse was extremely well crafted. Its beauty made a distinct impression on the Trojans. Most Trojans were thrilled. Their first impulse was to bring the horse inside the city, believing that it was surely a blessing. Others warned that the horse would bring bad luck if it were brought in. The Greeks left behind a man named Sinon. He told the Trojans that the Greeks had given up. He declared that the horse would bring them all good luck. With much joy, the Trojans pushed the wooden horse inside the gates that were built into the wall. They took the wooden horse to one of the finest sectors of the city and began celebrating their victory. Meanwhile, the Greeks waited until they could spring into action. Shortly after midnight, Sinon quietly unlatched an opening in the horse. By then, Sinon had oriented himself to where things were in the city. He showed Odysseus and the soldiers where to go to open the city gates. The Greek ships had returned to the harbor, and warriors finally entered the city. By dawn, Troy was burning, and Helen had been taken to a Greek ship in the harbor. The war had been won, and Menelaus had his queen once again.